Hey guys, what's going on? Welcome to the future of Halo's campaign lore. Now, for this video, I'm not going to be focusing on particular plot points that I would like to see in future Halo campaigns. For example, specific characters returning, specific locations visited. I didn't really feel like that fitted this type of video, so that is going to be saved for another video in the future, probably the near future. But in this video, I'm going to be talking about the sort of general aspects of the lore that I feel like should be in the campaign, should have been in Halo 5's campaign, and should definitely be in the future Halo campaigns to sort of build upon the lore within the campaign and both allow it to appeal to a larger audience and also enhance the campaign experience for both casual lore fans and deep hardcore lore fans like us. So, let's get going. The first lore-related feature that I'd like to see in the future of Halo's campaign is the campaign being optimised for both deep and casual lore fans. So, in my opinion, Halo 5 didn't really do this very well. We had a lot of things like Blue Team, the battle between the Swords of Sangheilios and Jules Covenant, and quite a few Foreigner-related things that were kind of just introduced and not explained. So obviously we understood that the Arbiter had been fighting all the other factions of elites on Sanghelios for many years now, and we obviously knew what the builders were and all that type of stuff, but a lot of casual lore fans had no idea. There was no sort of explanation for that. In my opinion, the way this can be fixed quite easily is by having a sort of prequel video before the start of the campaign, where, for example, they introduce a new character, they say a little bit about their history, their personal traits, who they're allied with, who their enemies are, just a really quick thing to sort of get casual lore fans into it. And then for the more hardcore lore fans, they should reintroduce terminals that are hidden in campaign missions that you can access, very similar to the Halo 3 ones, and the Halo 4 ones in fact, and the Halo 2 Anniversary ones, where they showed you sort of video about a character's backstory, or about the backstory of a certain event. For example, in Halo 2 Anniversary, it was about Seisa Rafume rebelling against the Covenant. Something like that is a really good idea because it gives casual fans an option of whether or not they want to delve deeper into the lore of that certain character, and then obviously the option is there also for hardcore fans like us to go there, find the terminals, watch the videos, read about them, and generally just learn more about the characters. Also, another thing I'd like to see that appeals more to the hardcore lore fans is references to other media. So, for example, when the Didact, if the Didact eventually comes back, it would be cool if he could make a reference to Chakas, Ryza, and Bornstella. Obviously, when the situation is right. I think that would be a really nice callback to the Foreigner trilogy. And obviously, like I said, just fit it in at the right time. Do it tastefully. But I think it would be really cool to have more things like that. The next thing I'd like to see is actually something that was present in Halo 5's campaign that I personally loved, and I know a lot of other people did, and I think it should be built on in future campaigns, and that is rec weapons being introduced into the campaign. I think individual weapons, different variations of weapons are an awesome idea. Vehicles too. They're an awesome idea because it allows a certain enemy to become more unique. For example, a regular elite miner just has a normal carbine, whereas an elite commander or a field marshal has, for example, the Blood of Saban, the needle rifle. This not only shows that the enemy that you're fighting has higher importance and is a higher rank, but it also adds a nice gameplay element because their weapons have different effects, they do more damage. The enemies of higher ranks aren't just bullet sponges anymore. They do more damage, they have different effects, and it makes them more interesting to fight from both a lore perspective and gameplay perspective. The next feature I'd like to be introduced is more enemy subclasses. For example, the Brutes. I firmly believe the Brutes will return in the next Halo game, the next major first-person shooter Halo game, but please, bring the Brutes back. In Halo 2, they were an awesome enemy to fight, they were a nice break from the elites, even though they were kind of OP. And by kind of OP, I mean very overpowered, but rework them, add them back in, keep the design very similar, if not the same to Halo 2. In my opinion, that was the best design, and for Halo Wars 2, that is the design they seem to be going with, which is great. Keep them. Add them as a sort of barbaric, rash, violent enemy that doesn't show up too often, but when they do, they're a real force to be reckoned with. Maybe also add the 2 different types of Sanshaiyun, the gravity chair bound ones from Halo 2 and 3, and also the ancient warriors that are present in the novel Halo Shadow of Intent. They will be awesome to fight and they will be really cool. Same goes for the Prometheans. Create more Promethean subtypes. The soldiers are awesome, the knights are cool, the crawlers are cool, the watchers are cool. Make more subtypes of them. The Promethean design so far has been amazing, and I can't wait to see how 343 hopefully expand on them. The next thing is something that was briefly mentioned and touched on in Halo 5's campaign that I'd love to see more of in the future, and that is our alliance, or our tenuous alliance, with the Soldiers of Sanghelios. Now, as us lore fans know, our alliance with the Soldiers of Sanghelios is not as simple as it may seem. The UNSC and ONI have tried many times to try and incite strife within the Soldiers of Sanghelios and try and break them down from the inside so that if they were to rebel against humanity eventually, they wouldn't be able to fight back efficiently. And it's this relationship that I'd like to see more of in the campaign. A great way to show our good side of our alliance with the Soldiers of Sanghelios would be to add the Arbiter back, and maybe even more elites like Artas, Entho, Utse as playable characters in co-op. That would be perfect, and it would show that Spartans do fight alongside elites, and that would sort of prove to the people that don't really read the lore that much that we have a good, strong alliance with them, mostly. And then on the flip side, to show the sort of tenuous, unstable relationship below the surface with the Sangheili, when you're playing as Chief in a mission with Sangheili by your side, maybe you could get a message through your comms from, I don't know, Admiral Parangoski maybe, or someone else high up in ONI who says, ignore the Sangheili, their lives don't matter, pursue your task or something. So basically saying disregard the life of the Sangheili and focus on the task at hand because the Sangheili aren't important. I think this would be great to show that on the surface, yeah, we do seem to have a great alliance with them, but under the surface there's a lot more complicated stuff going on. Now my next point links in quite closely with my previous point, and this point is the reintroduction of old characters to create links to past stories. 2 characters in particular that I would love to see return are Lord Hud and Artas Badum. For me, these 2 characters are kind of ingrained in Halo history, because they are each faction's sort of fleet commander, and I think it'd be great to see how they both interact with each other and with the Chief and Arbiter and quite a few other characters after the war. And of course, who doesn't want Chips Dubbo to return? He was missing in Halo 5 and I'm dying to find out what's happened to him. Please 343, bring Chips Dubbo back. The next thing I'd love to see in future Halo campaigns is the introduction of experimental technology. Now, we've seen this teased quite a bit with the description for armors and multiplayer, especially in Halo 5, but I think it'd be great to take this one step further and actually introduce some of this experimental concept beta technology into the campaign. Now, a good example of this would be, for example, a weapon that ONI are designing, which is sort of a single shot weapon that integrates a Forerunner slip drive into it, so when you shoot it, it creates like a mini slipstream portal, which you can either use to teleport yourself to a different location, kind of like a gun from Portal, or you can use it to shoot at enemies and it teleports them away and kills them. I think something like that would be excellent, and to fit it perfectly into the lore, if you could choose one Spartan, one soldier to test out experimental technology efficiently, who would it be? That's right, the Master Chief. He would be the perfect soldier to test it out. The same goes for armor modifications too. It'd be cool if, for example, we got a custom chest plate that let us sprint faster, or that let us temporarily see through walls, or something really, I don't know, something really out of the box like that. It'd be cool to see some of that stuff incorporated into the campaign. It'd also give us a nice deep look into the manufacture of weapons in the Halo universe. Again, something that we've never really seen in any sort of media or game before, and having to actually test these weapons and maybe even vehicles as well out would be a really cool addition, in my opinion, to the campaign. The next sort of change that I want to see in future Halo, not just campaigns but media in general, is for 343 and 343's writers to stop creating pointless dead-end plotlines. Now, I know a lot of you have read Escalation, so you'll know about the Absolute Record, and you'll also know about the Janus Key. How those 2 seemingly really important plotlines literally led to nothing. I mean, the Janus Key was pretty much the entire focus of Spartan Ops in Halo 4, and it literally led to nothing. And for people that invest a lot of time in sort of learning about these stories for them to result in nothing, it's kind of a kick in the teeth, and it's something that needs to really stop. Another example that you could use as an example for this is Julam Dharma. I mean, I know he did have significances over 2 campaigns and Escalation, and Spartan Ops, but his death was one of the worst things I've seen in a game for a long time. It was completely uncalled for in the manner that it was handled. I mean, I was all for Julim Dharma dying, don't get me wrong, I think he should have definitely died in Halo 5, but the way that he died, the way it was handled was absolutely abysmal, and things like that need to not happen again. And if things like this do continue to happen, I can see a lot of people sort of moving away from Halo's story, because Halo 5's story, although I enjoyed it personally, it pissed a lot of people off due to the way that certain things were handled, how the cliffhanger was so abrupt, but if these dead-end plot lines continue, I can see a lot of people moving away from Halo's story. My final request, specifically for the next game, is to make the campaign dark. We were promised a dark campaign with Halo 5, and in my opinion, we didn't really get that. I mean, I can see why some would see it as a sort of dark, gloomy outcome at the end of the campaign, but compared to what we've had in the past, most importantly with the Flood, it wasn't dark. The best way to make a campaign dark in Halo is to reintroduce the Flood, and when you do reintroduce the Flood, please show that they are a massive force and that they are basically unstoppable. Make the player worried for the future of the universe. Make it sort of like Halo 3, when, for example, the Flood invaded Void. The transition from one mission to another when the Flood invaded Void was insane. On the Storm, you were walking through Void, which was kind of destroyed a little bit by the Covenant, but not that much. And then all of a sudden, when the Flood come, the sky goes gloomy, everything's destroyed. Whole squads of Marines are getting infected in front of you, and there's basically nothing you can do. Things like that are so good. And then obviously at the end of Floodgate, the Covenant glass it, so it's even more of a gloomy, dark outcome. And things like that, to me at least, are what Halo's about. Because the universe in Halo is so dangerous. There are so many things out there to kill the player. There are so many things out there to end humanity. And the Flood are a perfect embodiment of that. And when they're reintroduced, their story has to be super dark and almost depressing. That's all for now, guys. Thanks a lot for watching. I hope you enjoyed. If you did enjoy, please hit the like button. It helps me out a lot. And if you're new, maybe subscribe. That also helps me out a lot too. And I'll see you guys in the next video.